My name is Yunus Mirza. I'm the director of the Barzinji Institute for Global Virtual Learning here at Shenandoah University. And I want to begin by saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our partners from here in the United States, where it's 9 a.m. to folks in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. I want to welcome all of you. We're really excited to have this forum with our guest, Greg Tuke, who helped us launch COIL here at Shenandoah University. We initially started as a project, and in this project was an in-person exchange with folks in Southeast Asia and the Balkans. But through the pandemic, we transitioned to virtual exchange and virtual forums such as this, as well as COIL, which is a big part of our institute now. We have our own faculty training, as well as presenting on conferences, as well as seeking out different awards. So before we turn it to Greg Tuke, I want to invite our Associate Provost, Amy Sarch, say a couple of words about global virtual learning and how it fits within the larger mission and vision of Shenandoah University. Please.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to have us all together. And just even the fact that we're all together just is a testament to kind of the power of global virtual learning, getting to know each other through technology and forming relationships. So I'm thrilled that we have this workshop today with forum with Greg Tuke. He has been an amazing mentor to our program and has helped us develop it and continue to develop it with all of you as we move forward. So going global has been a mission of Shenandoah University since always. And actually it took the pandemic for us to realize that we could grow it even further. So during the pandemic, Yunus was working with a group of staff and faculty and students to do another in-person trip abroad, and that quickly got canceled due to the pandemic. And basically, he pivoted along with all of our other COIL fellows, developed COIL fellowships online with the help of Greg. So now what we're realizing is that there's so much opportunity with COIL that we would love to be able to send all of our students abroad. We'd love to send our faculty abroad and our staff, but it's not actually possible for everybody to go abroad. And actually, we're realizing with COIL that the ability to integrate this into the classroom has really broadened our faculty and our students' perspectives. So it's almost like a gift that we had to pivot, because COIL is really powerful and it is different than in-person exchange. And I don't think that actually one is actually better than the other. It's wonderful if individuals could do both, but to be able to have COIL in the classroom is not even lesser than. It's really expanded our students' minds, extended our faculty's pedagogy, and it's just been a wonderful way to grow. So I'm thrilled that Shenandoah is taking that leadership in this area, thanks to the leadership of Yunus and what we now have as the Institute. And really our goal is to keep growing and to help others grow and to kind of just keep building our partnerships, because this is only successful because of our international partners. So we're really thrilled to have you all here with us today, and we're looking forward to many more conversations and many more forums. So thank you.
So yeah, thanks so much, Amy, for those words. And I want to echo the point about mentorship. So myself, coming from the faculty in the humanities, and then transitioning to in-person exchange, and then transitioning to virtual exchange, that's been the help of a lot of people, and Greg is one of them. So thank you for your mentorship. And also Amy for being one of our COIL champions. Greg is going to go through his framework for scaling COIL. And in that framework, we see that it's important to get the senior leadership involved and eventually become a COIL champion. So Amy has been that person. So thanks for your support. So great. So let's transition now to Greg's presentation, and he'll present for 15-20 minutes, and then we'll invite our international partners to respond, and then open up for questions and comments. So with that, please, Greg.
And you don't need to open that just yet. I want to say a couple words of introduction. I'm really excited to be here. I came yesterday to Shenandoah University for the first time. It had all been done virtual that we had done before. And as you said, there are wonderful things about virtual communication. And there's some things you can do with virtual that you can't do when you're in person, but there's also some things you could do in person. And one thing that's, even better, and one of the things I really appreciated is getting to know some of the details and meeting with people here for this last day to learn more about what you all are doing. It's just really filled out my understanding of what's happening at Shenandoah University. And I want to touch on a few of those things as we talk over the next few minutes. But the other thing, when I went home last night, I started thinking that it was just about exactly 20 years ago today that I went to a classroom that I was working in. I was doing school reform work in K-12. I went, this was a first grade class, and it was in a neighborhood that was at the time the most social, the most economically and racially diverse in the country. So really interesting school, loved working at it. And on that day, I saw students in this classroom, a US classroom in Seattle, Washington, that were communicating with some first graders in South Korea, and they were really engaged. And they didn't speak the same language, and they were using what I now understand for first graders as a universal language, which is charades, and they were problem solving together. And they were using Skype at the time. And I thought this is going to revolutionize education, because for the first time I was experiencing where students who never would have an opportunity for most of them to travel abroad, as you were talking about, were connecting with and solving problems with students in another country, and they were doing it virtually in a really compelling way. So I thought this is really going to be the thing that will change education. 2 years later, I for the first time started seeing this next technology come on board, which was, we called it digital storytelling, where people were making video stories and sharing them with each other online. I thought, this is great. Think what this can do in the classroom, to add to what we're already doing. And I thought, this is what we ought to be doing in all classrooms, give everybody this kind of experience, K-12, maybe even universities. I wasn't working in universities at the time. And this is where we'll be 20 years from now. And the sad fact of the matter is we're not there. One thing that was true was that I thought teachers would really embrace this because they could see the value of this very quickly. They knew how important global education was for students to be able to get, because of the way we were globally connected even 20 years ago. And that part has been true. I've just seen faculty at the university level and K-12 adopt this very quickly, or want to adopt it. They say, yeah, teach me how to do this. What do I need to do? How do I find international partners? The problem has been we haven't figured out a system that's been implemented at a large number of universities where you can take those individual pioneer teachers and faculty and be able to grow it and scale it so that this becomes a common practice across universities. And that today, I think, is what we need to be able to do. And what I'm going to show you is a framework that was developed about 3 years ago that pulled together what we had been learning. And I've been working with universities now for about 10 years in being able to help people scale this. And Shenandoah University is one of the leaders already in being able to think about how you scale this up in a consistent way so that you get faculty not only doing it once, but twice, 3 times and more. And there's some people in this room right here who have been doing that. And I know some people on screen who have done multiple COIL courses. And that's what we need, because it's a very powerful experience for those of you who've done it. So what I want to show you in the next 10 minutes is an outline of the key components for how you grow this, how you solve this one problem, which we haven't yet solved and implemented across multiple universities. And universities that are using this now, and I'm working with about a dozen of them now, are expanding consistently the number of faculty that are doing COIL courses and giving the experience to thousands of students at their university. So there's 7 elements to it. And the first is you need to have a strong faculty recruitment, selection, and training program. It's great that there's enthusiasm, right, on teachers that want to do this and faculty want to do it, but there is a way to do it well. And so there's some training that's being done to, that is happening here and in many universities in how you can get faculty to do this. And sometimes this is integrated into the existing teaching and learning centers, like Mira and in Malaysia, I know runs the teaching and learning center there. And so you can integrate this work within that. And sometimes it's faculty who have been trained and have done some courses, and they become the alumni who then become the trainers for other faculty. And that's another model to do it. But you need a way to regularly be able to train teachers so you can keep bringing people right on. And you need a way to recruit faculty to identify those people who are enthusiastic and select them. So that's the first thing. And that's usually the starting place that universities go with. The second thing, and as I walk through these, the other thing I want you to think about is in most universities, there is a person who takes on these responsibilities and they build out a team. I'll go into that a little bit about how you do this, but these are the elements. So you may see yourself as that person, either being formally designated to do it or informally, you decide this is what we need to have happen on our universities. You build out this team. So the first one, as I mentioned, is this faculty recruitment, selection, training. And the second is to build in some technical and logical support. This one's interesting because a few years ago, pre-pandemic, faculty, when they got started, needed quite a bit of help to be able to use some of these tools. They weren't used to using Zoom. Was hardly used, 3 years ago. They were using Skype, and I can't remember the other stuff we used. But now, just everyone pretty much is really familiar with that tool and some of the other tech tools that are used when you start doing some online stuff. Really simple tools. It doesn't take much, but we used to have a person, usually in the tech office, who had said, okay, I know what you're trying to do. I'll informally or formally be the person who will help support you as more and more faculty get on board. Now that's less needed, but the logistical support is something that's really needed to support faculty. And all these that I'm going to be talking about are these support mechanisms to help faculty. As an example, you've got your 2 faculty, they've gotten trained, they've got their curriculum, they know what they're going to do, they're ready to launch their class. One of the faculty doesn't have enough students for their class. I mean, that happens, right? Now, it's a failure. Yeah, not here, right? Amy says not here. But so that can happen. But now the problem is now you have not only one class that can't go, but now another class that's all prepared to go, an international partner, and they can't do it either. So it becomes a huge problem. So you need some logistical support. You need to think ahead of time about how are we going to prevent this from happening? Who can help those faculty who don't quite have enough students yet to help recruit students? What are some ways to do that? And there's a myriad of ways, and we can go into those some in the discussion if you want, but you need a method for how you can help in those kind of situations. So that's an example of logistics support to faculty so they don't have to do this alone. And that's a big theme in all of this, because if we're going to grow this, faculty can't be doing this as, in the US, what I call as a lone ranger kind of thing, all alone without any support. They need this support system. The third thing is strategic team and brain trust. So these are 2 different elements. Strategic team, I'm going to go into in a few minutes, which is who are the other people you need besides yourself to build out this team to help make this happen. Brain trust is sort of like a learning community. Who are the people who know how to do this at your campus, the alumni, and how do you weave them together so they stay connected? Some universities will have quarterly lunches with them where they bring them together. And maybe they bring in a speaker or not, but it's a way for them to learn from each other, support one another, find partners, international partners, and learn how to do the course even better. That brain trust is an element that you want to build at the university as you grow the number of faculty. The fourth element is promotion. And I use Shenandoah as an example a lot about this because UNIS has been really good about showcasing what faculty are doing and creating. Here, one of the tools is using a WhatsApp group. So all the faculty stay connected. They're not only sharing professional ideas on this WhatsApp that was set up partway through the training, but they're also talking about their personal lives and continuing that too. Babies getting born, awards that people get. So it's a really interesting group, and I stay involved just because I love hearing about what people who, I got involved in the training and what they're up to now. So, so that's one way to keep connected, but that there's other things that are being done here and at other universities strategically to raise this up for faculty, showcasing what they're doing, taking example from what a class did, where maybe the class worked together and created a solar powered stove that could be used in countries instead of wood. I mean, that's what one faculty pair did. So, how do we promote this? Thinking about websites that you have in the school, thinking about how you talk to the local media about what's going on, ways to raise this up. So promotion is a big one. You want to think about how you do this. Financial support is another element. And by this, I also mean ways in which it isn't always direct financial support like a stipend you might give faculty for the planning time that's involved, because it is extra work, as those of you who have done the courses know. But maybe there's other ways. There's ways in which you can earn points for promotion and recognition, for tenure. Maybe I was talking here about at Shenandoah yesterday, and they were talking about ways in which they might hold a reception for faculty and highlight what a faculty person has just done for their other colleagues. These are things that, again, help raise up what the faculty are doing and give something back to faculty to make them feel like, hey, this is really worth doing. I'm glad that people are paying attention. But financial support also talks about is with grant money too, and how you can get money both internally and secure it from internal sources at the university and external ones. Again, we can go into this in some more detail, but it's an important element if you want to continue this long term, how you get there. The sixth one is international faculty partners. So there are, I usually think of three big reasons why faculty don't continue to do this. And this is one of the, or get started. And this is one of those top three, which is they're enthusiastic. They've got the training, but who's going to do this with me? Where do I find a partner? Being able to have a way in which you can find international partners, train international partners, and match international partners, and then keep in touch with international partners so that you've got a pool of people you can tap into is really important. I love what Shenandoah has been doing, for example, with focusing on 4 or 5 key universities and thinking about how do we grow with them. That's a much better strategy than just saying, hey, we've got 100 MOUs at our university. Let's see if we can find some faculty there. Because what you'll find is you'll be finding these individual pioneers, but they've got no support system out there. So you want to find faculty at universities that are also building the support system. This kind of workshop, as an example, I guess, is an idea of working collaboratively with your partners and saying, let's share this resource. Let's build up together on how to do this. So really smart strategically to do this. And that will help you to solve this final nut of the problem, which is how you grow COIL, not just how do you get it started. Then the last one is assessment, in figuring out ways in which to do assessment. This is one I don't feel like we've got down yet. Because I was talking yesterday in a conversation, some of the changes that occur with students, the individual self-reflection and growth, the understanding cross-culturally of when you're working with somebody, those are longer term impacts that sometimes you don't see after 12 weeks. And people can't report it, or if they do report it, it isn't necessarily true of where they're going to be a year or two from now. Some of the other things, like how you work in a global team, how you use virtual communication effectively, yes, those things could be measured very easily and accurately within a 4 to 12-week period. So these are the 7 elements, and I want to show them in another way in this slide, which is, so you've got the faculty, training, and recruitment in the center, and then these other elements. So I don't know about you, but for some people who were, as we're working with people and they start thinking about how you do this, this is a pretty big pill to swallow. It's a lot of stuff. So how do you do this? And so in this next slide, I'll give you an example. And I show this only to give you ideas because it's done differently at each campus. Everyone is unique and they tailor it to your own, but this is the model I have in my head as a starting place. First is at the center, you need someone who's going to be the one who's going to kind of lead the charge, carry the flag on this. And sometimes it's a couple people, and sometimes it's a formally recognized thing of the university. And sometimes it's an informal role that somebody will take on as another part of their job. They just decide they're going to do this because they think it's so important. But you want to build a team, because if you try and do this all as one person, it is too much, even if you're designated. And even if it's not too much, you do a disservice to the university because you don't integrate this into the existing structures of the university. And that's what you want to do. Integrate this into existing structures as much as you can. So, like you have a training and learning center. How do we work with them? You have a PR and promotion element of a university. How do we work with them? You have a fundraising department. How do we work with them? So it's kind of a combination of things you can do on your own and things you do build into the infrastructure of the university. But key to this is having senior leadership. People like Amy who will say, this is what we're going to do. We've been doing this forever. This is our mission. This is what we're going to do. Obviously you're a zealot about this, and you need to know who are the people in the senior leadership. And there's a number of them. You want to find them, have them be part of this team that you're building. The next thing is instructional designers. Who are the people who are going to do this kind of teaching? And again, you can have people like here, Vicki, who's alumni from doing COIL courses, now is teaching along with a team of people teaching these COIL courses here. Mira is in the instructional design department in Malaysia, and maybe you can build out within each of those areas to have more than just one person, because you want some redundancy. A third element is to think about the IT department that I mentioned before. Who are the people who can help you with this? Sometimes they're even built into the teaching and learning centers, but sometimes it's separate. And then you also need this next element, which is marketing, and who's doing marketing and PR. So how can you work with them so that you don't have to do it all yourself? And again, how do you develop those relationships? And Eunice shared with us in a workshop he did with some of these leaders we're working with about how he works with a key marketing person at the university here, meeting with them, consistently, and just kind of talking about, here's what we're doing. What are you thinking about? What's important to you to market about the university? How does COIL fit in with that? And then figuring out a strategy together that benefits both the department's mission goals and COIL's. And then the last is department chairs, working with department chairs. in most universities, as you grow this, you might start it in one department, like in language, or you might start it in political science or arts and sciences, or general studies, but you want to grow outside of that. So how do you identify those champions in those departments who are zealots about this and grow that and have them become partners with you in helping build this out? They help recruit faculty with you too. They help think about how you reward faculty and how do I reward them within my department. So these are the elements of the leadership team that you want to build over time. And the last thing I'll say, and you can take this down if you want, Eunice, is that I think it's helpful to not try and do this all at once, right? So, but to develop a work plan. What are the key things I'm going to work on first at my university? Maybe there's 2 priority areas we're going to work on. We're going to work on promotion and building out our international partners. That's what we're going to grow. And we'll put in the chat box a rubric that you can use that people have found helpful, that it takes these 7 elements and it says, where am I at today along this spectrum on each of these elements, and how do I get from here, or what are the things that move me from a 1 to a 3 to a 5? It's kind of on a 1 to 5 ratio. And so it can be a helpful guide as you're thinking about, okay, I want to move promotion. What might that look like if we're a 4 instead of a 2? And how do I get from here to there? So we'll put that in the chat box, and that can be a resource for you going forward. So that's the framework, Eunice.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks so much. Maybe we can get a round of applause. Very systematic. And now we invite our partners to respond to that. So let's start with Mira Kartoui, who is the director of the professional development at the International Islamic University of Malaysia. So Mira, why don't you give some comments, 3 to 5 minutes, on what you heard, what you all are doing in Malaysia to scale COIL.
Yeah, thank you so much. So glad to meet Greg, Amy, Vicky, Eunice, and everyone. Sorry, I cannot call everyone's name, but I'm truly grateful for the COIL experience. And just to share with everyone, a few days ago, I received a message from my colleagues, and she said, I've heard that you have been having all this COIL project, but I never, my dean never informed us about these initiatives. We were only find out about this from, I created a playbook that I disseminated to the university announcement. And then she found out about the program. It is after the 3rd cohort she found out about this, and she was she really excited to actually be part of this. But unfortunately, because of the numbers that we have, I believe we have limited numbers for every cohort, so we could not involve everyone. So now, since that I've received a lot of interest on these initiatives, we are planning to actually conduct an in-house training to facilitate this kind of excitement. So everybody feel excited now because they have heard from other colleagues who have done this, and then the reflections from the students. It is a really a meaningful undertakings, and I'm truly grateful for the experience. I'm really grateful for the trainings that you have given, Greg. It really opens our perspective that it is doable. I think that's the first thing that really need to be conveyed to our colleagues, that it is doable. And we have to, again, one of the things that we actually learned from the experience is the students, the mindset on how they see themselves in the world, because all this while they know there are global citizenships and all those kind of things. Those terms have been coined very frequently because we also have courses related to SDG and whatnot, but they haven't really interact with other students who actually experiencing kind of similar things to what they've experienced. So through COILs, what we actually learn from the students, they found similarities, they found differences, it is a constructive difference. For example, learning different cultures, learning different languages, things that we thought that it is the West against the East, or we don't see that anymore now, and that's an eye-opening. So this is what we really learn, and I think I have coined this a lot again and again, not only at faculty level, not only at because faculty means in Malaysia means school. So not only at school level, but also at university level, because I'm a member of the Senate meeting. So I highlight this, how much this initiative have actually affected and impacted to the teaching and learning process. We have learned things that we haven't seen possible before in a way that actually encourage a lot of work that needs to be done, especially Greg mentioned earlier on pedagogy, because pedagogy sometimes in the university we took it for granted, but when we actually see it in the COIL, we see things a lot of dimensions when it comes to pedagogy as well as to the instructional design. So all these kind of things we learn in the hard way, but it is a very meaningful undertakings again. And I said earlier, it's hard to bring these narratives in unless they're actually involved in the COIL. And now that we have a lot of staff actually doing part of this initiatives, we are not hesitate anymore to promote at university level, and soon hopefully in the next cohort we can actually scale this up, because we have three different campuses at the moment. It's very central, it's very focused on on the main campus, which is in Gombak in Kuala Lumpur, but we do have campus in Kuantan as well as in Pago, so hopefully we can scale it up to other campuses as well, and looking forward to collaborate with everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mira, for your contributions. And Mira was part of our initial COIL training, and now she's a COIL instructor. So thanks so much for continuing to help our program here at Shenandoah University. So let's continue and hear from Dr. Mohammed Asia. And Dr. Mohammed Asia is a partner of ours from the Arab American University of Palestine. He's a vice president there. He's working on a nursing simulation project for the virtual reality lab. But he's also been a COIL champion. I encourage many members of his faculty to join our COIL training. So Dr. Asia, maybe in 3 to 5 minutes, you could comment on what you heard.
Well, thank you for allowing me in this opportunity to speak about COIL. Honestly, a kind of a dream to me, COIL success. COIL success is to me an international opportunity for all to benefit from. So I'm not sure if I can share one slide maybe. So without my slides, we had an opportunity to collaborate on 2 projects through COIL, which the first one was about virtual reality in nursing fundamental lab course for BS students. And we managed actually to create 4 VR scenarios that are currently used in the nursing BS program. So that was a quite success, in addition to the visit that we made to Shenandoah University and Shenandoah University staff, except the best man to me, Mr. Yunus. Thank you. And, he couldn't manage to visit. 6 staff from Shenandoah came to Arab American University in Palestine. And actually there was a visit from the senior leader of Shenandoah, but they didn't manage to come. The second project with COIL was in health informatics module, which was a 3-week module between students of Shenandoah and students of Arab American University. And it was great, students exchange, their view on one of the modules in the same course of health informatics. So it was beneficial for both students in the course. To me, COIL has an opportunity to become an international academic leader. You know why? Because to me, if we succeed in Jordan, one module, developing a module in a course in Jordan, then in Palestine, one module. Then why, if we're developing together internationally some aspects in a course in development, why won't we teach the course? Let's say I am the best teacher in nursing in one of the courses. Why won't I teach the same course online for a class in Jordan and a class in Palestine and a class in Malaysia and a class in US, the same students can listen to me. So to me, when we say cost-effective and quality education, if am I the best one to teach that course, then I'm providing quality education. And if I'm the same teacher for multiple courses, international, then I'm doing cost-effective education. If this opportunity comes from COIL, that will be the top which we can dream about. Globalization of teaching through quality and cost-effective education. And COIL can be also a peacemaker in this case. You know, if I have a trouble with Sudan, leave it alone. You know, I can teach Sudanese students. You know, we can exchange. So COIL can be a leader in international academic collaboration in education, and COIL can be let's say a leader in international exchange of students, staff, and faculty, and a peacemaker opportunity. To do this, we shouldn't sit small with a program like Mr. Yunus is running at Shenandoah. It has limited budget finally. It can do a small amount of accomplishments, let's say, overall, even though it has done a lot with this amount. The Shenandoah has managed to done a lot. What about it becomes international program with special people leading it, people who are committed and enthusiastic and special, like Yunus and Stephanie and many others in Shenandoah, as example. It can succeed, my friends. It can succeed. And this is my message. COIL should grow bigger to become a leader. And thank you.
Thanks so much, Mohammed. Wow, leaving us with some aspirations and dreams. So thanks so much for those contributions and those words. And we very much enjoyed having you here at Shenandoah a couple of months ago. So with that, let's turn to Vicky Spencer, who leads our COIL workshop here. And maybe you could say a couple of words, 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions and comments. And I definitely want to hear from Sosin, who is our partner in Yarmouk. So we look forward to hearing from you as well. So yeah, Vicky.
Thank you. First of all, Greg, your timing was perfect, because since we did have the initial training with you, I think we've all been kind of surprised at how fast it took off. It has been extremely successful. And I'm kind of bragging, but I do think it has. We have great instructors, and we did all learn from you. And when I found out you were coming, I thought, finally, all my questions, I can get answers. But it has been very clarifying, and especially like you going through these 7 steps or these things that we need to focus on, because I think with each one of those 7 that you outlined, we kind of know where we're at on those. And then to me, I see our next step is developing that framework of, okay, I mean, I love that idea of that rubric of where are we on these steps, and then where do we go from here? And I do commend our instructors, because these instructors work hard. And I love that we have Mira that joins us, you know, internationally, and that we have people who are now on their 2nd and 3rd implementation of COIL. And it's very exciting. I do love hearing from our colleagues around the world and seeing that we're all on the same page about this. And the last thing I'm going to say, which to me is the most important, if you look at the mission statements of universities, really worldwide, they always talk about becoming a global citizen, that that's so important for our students. And to me, instead of just talking about it, we're actually doing it. So we're not just in words like, this is our mission, we want our students to be global citizens. COIL gives them the opportunity to be an active participant as a global citizen before they even walk out the door. And I just think it lays such a great foundation for our students to go out into the world. And some faculty will ask me, you know, what are the benefits? And I always tell them, if you have 2 students or recent graduates that are going up for the same job, and this one has the international component, the international training, I believe in this day and age that that student's going to get priority, because that's really where we're at, really in any field right now. It has to be global in context. So that's my cheerleading.
No, absolutely. Yeah. How do you operationalize COIL and really
Absolutely.
and global citizenship? So wonderful. So let's open it up now to questions, comments. Sosan, maybe I could bring you in here because you are a partner of ours at Yarmouk University in Jordan, also went through our COIL training and have a partner with someone here at Shenandoah. So maybe you could ask a question or make a couple of comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello from Jordan. Hello from my guest room, Eunice. Remember the guest room that you and Vicky were in during the summer? That's where I am right now. Yeah, only I have a new dining table. That's the power of COIL, as you said. Yeah, I hope all of you are having a good time. Here in Jordan, it's almost 6 o'clock, 15 minutes to 6, almost evening. And I don't know, we've welcomed weather, winter weather early. So it's raining outside right now in Irbid. Yeah. I want to thank you very much, for COIL. And yes, and of the great opportunities that you have given staff at Yarmouk University and students as well. Everybody's very excited with COIL, honestly speaking. The professors are, looking forward, to even giving, classes, let me say, to international students, and I guess vice versa. The professors at Shenandoah are also as excited. It's very great to teach people from different backgrounds and to gain and give the international experience. Yes, and I do believe that diversity is power. Where you have people from different backgrounds, different, histories even, and cultures, they could always, add to the learning experience. And as Vicky just said, I want to thank you for saying that, a person with international, an international kind of, knowledge is a lot better than a person that has limited and, narrow knowledge. Yes, that's what is needed nowadays. We need international, global citizens nowadays who have a wider understanding of each other. And thank you so much for providing us with these opportunities, where we get to interact and share different ideas and different kinds of knowledge with each other. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sosan. And Sosan referenced that we had a site visit to Yarmouk University, and she was very gracious in hosting us there, myself, Amy, and Vicky. So with that, we'll open up to other questions, comments. Feel free to write a question or a comment in the chat, or if you want to just speak orally, you're more than welcome to do that. So please, yes. So I see a hand raised. So I think Artwell, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Atwell Mfoya from Durban University of Technology in South Africa. I recently joined the COIL program. In fact, it's my first time to attend these meetings and stuff. I was introduced to this program by management here at Durban University of Technology. So now I'm not sure do I have to undergo some training or some sort of, to have some documents. I'm not sure exactly what is required for us to do in this program, yes. We do have the program in the university, but it's not run like, as I can see now, that everyone is used to this program compared to our university.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we don't have a formal partnership in South Africa right now, but yeah, so Greg, what would you recommend for someone like Hartwell in South Africa? He's really interested in COIL. What's his next steps? Where should he go?
And you're a faculty person there? You're on faculty?
Yes, I'm a faculty in applied sciences. I'm a lecturer for textile technology.
Yes.
Yes. I joined the university last year. I did my master's in chemistry in Czech Republic. Then I worked for South African Bureau of Standards as an auditor. I used to travel to Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, China, all these European countries as an auditor, because before we import products to South Africa, we have to audit them. So I used to audit them. Then last year I joined this university because I wanted to continue with my PhD.
Okay, excellent. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there are, like everything, there are a lot of resources online where you can see basically workbooks and ideas for strategies for, carrying out COIL just as an individual faculty partner. And we could, the COIL SUNY Center, you could just, there's a number of websites to be able to find that if you just type in Collaborative Online International Learning. So that's sort of like a starting place. But if you want to get training to train the faculty, there are places where you can get some of that. And some of those resources are listed in those COIL documents. I'm trying to think of an easy link. Maybe what I'll do is if you, do we have
yeah, I have all the emails. So we can
we'll
follow
send
up with
you some
you.
resources.
Email, we can email you some resources and we can see
Okay, I'll appreciate that.
our training. So, but thanks so much for that comment.
Yep.
So we have also,
Can I add something to that? Just because when we were at the conference in Spain a few weeks ago, we talked a lot with faculty from Durban University of Technology.
Yes.
And there are two colleagues there that I've been in touch with, even since we returned, and they do training. I would be more than willing to send you that contact information, because it may be that then they could start their own consortium of training within South Africa that then can expand. But since Durban University already has that set up, that might be a really good starting point for you as well. And they're doing great things with COIL at Durban.
yeah. And we'll definitely follow up with you, and we know some colleagues there. So
yeah,
thanks for that comment. So I see also Dr. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name, but Dr. Ola Jamoke, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I was just going to respond to Artwell. I'm also a faculty member from Durban University of Technology and have been part of the COIL program. So Davinia G2 is the coordinator of COIL projects in DUT. Because we are getting to the end of the semester, so you may not necessarily be aware of all the series of workshops that we have been having where COIL is concerned. I also just joined COIL in May this year. And from May till probably around September, we've had very intensive workshops across, different aspects of the COIL experience. So I think if you contact Davinia, the internationalization office, you will be maybe seconded to the next cohort of workshops that the university will be carrying out for COIL come the next academic year, because the academic year is basically almost over right now. So you just need to get in touch with, I may just send you an email and connect you with Davinia, who is the COIL coordinator. It's a very, she's got it covered. I mean, we've got a very sound COIL coordination in DUT. I just needed to emphasize that. Thank you.
So happy to hear that. Doc. We were just at the International Virtual Exchange Conference in Spain, and there was a session on COIL opportunities in Africa and the Middle East. So here in the United States, a lot of times virtual exchange is defined with folks in Europe and South America. So we're really excited about exploring opportunities in Africa as well as the Middle East. So wonderful. Any other questions, comments, ideas?
Yeah, sorry, just want to add, sorry, on that, following up on Vicky's comment just now on the value add for the students, especially in getting the job. I've received a lot of feedback from the students that yes, what the e-portfolio that we actually did during the the COIL, that actually becomes a value add for them, especially during the interview. So if the students, I know sometimes when you are setting up COIL, there's a lot of resistance from the students saying, oh, it's a different time zone, it's hard to set up the meetings and whatnot. But when we share the good experience that the students who have gone through the programs and how it actually helps them, especially in the career, I'm very sure Kelly would probably resonate to that because you have just completed one session with Noor, right? So in this case, a lot of students' reflections saying how much the value add to their career prospect is really, really meaningful and really helps them to be more, get more motivations to actually go through this. I don't know what do you call, some students, they call it hurdle, but for me, it's actually some things because they cannot see the benefits yet. But if we show them the benefits from the program, I'm very sure it will motivate them. Okay, thank you.
That's great. Yeah, you have we have Kelly here and Stacy. So you want to share any thoughts on a faculty perspective? We've been speaking about a lot of deans and administrators, but you as being people that are actually implementing the COIL, where do you fit within this ecosystem and how you've been supported or where you need more support?
I feel a little bit like a pioneer within my particular discipline doing this. I'm really the only criminal justice person I know who's done a COIL, like across my profession. I'm going to our big conference next week for criminology, and I'm going to see if I can find anybody else because there's got to be somebody. I mean, there's a lot of us around, but and so in that sense, I'm really happy to sort of internationalize a discipline that on many university campuses ends up being very domestic or US based. You know, I am the comparativist in my field, and so this is super huge for my pedagogy. And so particularly partnering with my comparative criminal justice class last semester, I had a partner in Jordan, and we were collaborating during Ramadan, and my students really benefited from, you know, sort of kind of walking in their footsteps a little bit as they were experiencing that very special month. And I just think it was a wonderful experience. And a couple of them, you know, said to me that it was really life-changing to have new Muslim friends, you know, from the Middle East. And so, yeah, so I guess, yeah, so as a faculty member, just in my field, I feel a little bit like a pioneer, but I'm also very proud of that. And, you know, it hasn't always been easy, but it's always been rewarding, which is, and so that keeps me going. Yeah. How about you, Kelly?
I couldn't agree more about the not always easy, but definitely rewarding. One of the things that Noor and I are actually going through right now is she has a class of 77 students, and I have a class of 14. And so we've come across this before, and, you know, we have made adjustments. If you can find a partner that you can stay with over time, you know, your ability to really massage what it is they do, thinking about, you know, looking at your best practices. You don't know what you've done wrong until you've done it. So once you've done it, now here is where we can make some adjustments. What we're doing this time is her students are working on a project. She and I are sending lectures back and forth, you know, to help with that time difference. But my students, only 2 in a group, will be the consultants for these students who are making advertisements, which really isn't in the wheelhouse of Dr. Noor's class completely, which is part of what I'm giving. She's doing lectures in intercultural communication. So we're standing, you know, in our own spaces there, but the students, instead of everyone having the same outcome and working on the exact same project, we're finding that by having my students be in more of this consulting role, then that there's a different pressure and a different difficulty when the entire group is making one advertisement or one project. So by each group having different goals, I think it makes it easier for them to relate to one another because they're very specific on what they need to do. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was a big, while it seems obvious to all of you listening out there, it was a huge revelation.
Wonderful. We're hitting the hour, so maybe we could hear some final words from Amy and then last word from Greg. Yeah, Amy.
I loved hearing everybody's experiences, and I think I'm glad Kelly touched on this last one, because COIL is it lives and breathes on the pedagogy. So it really, that's what it is. It's being able to share best practices across the globe, and being able to interact and learn from each other on the faculty level and the student level. So it's really and so I love that we have folks in the Center for Teaching and Learning to really be part of that at Shenandoah, and I would say elsewhere. That's key, because it is about that. It's about faculty to be able to adjust and to pivot and to put their students first and to be able to troubleshoot really well. And it's all about putting yourself out there. So, this isn't where you just lecture to a group of students across the globe. It's where you interact with the other faculty member, and you and the students interact. And the faculty aren't even necessarily leading, they're coaching. And so it's really, it's so much about student-centered pedagogy. And I think sometimes we forget that it is wonderful to be able to have the international partners, but it goes down to really learning from one another. And it takes, I've said this about a lot of programs here, it's really all about fit, that you get lucky if you get a partner that could be flexible along with you. It's a fit for faculty, and it's a fit for students as well, because for students, it's taking them out of their comfort zone. And we forget it's faculty taking out of their comfort zone as well. So it's faculty need to take that chance first, and to be able to kind of coach their students and say it's okay, but also to be able to say to their students, you know what, this is new for me as well. And I think this is different for us because we don't always teach that way. So COIL, I think, is on the forefront of so many things, and it's not necessarily because of the technology, but it's because of these teaching practices and putting the students first. So that's really at its core. So I really just thank you all for taking that opportunity and taking that leap and that chance, because we're all kind of in uncharted grounds. And every time that you have a new project, you're in uncharted ground, because what worked one time is not necessarily going to work again. So thank you all. This has been really wonderful to hear from everybody.
I couldn't agree more with every single thing that you just said about that, about what COIL is like. I'll add one thing about this international experience that several of us have talked about what makes this international experience so valuable when we do it through COIL. And it's quite different from what I thought initially. Like when I described that first grade class, I just thought it was great that kids were able to communicate with one another across 10,000 miles and across cultures like that. And now it's much more profound, because that international experience is, when COIL is done well in the classrooms like you all are doing, students have two things that are happening. One is that they're problem solving together, just like these students were doing charades and figuring out what the other person was saying. We're operating at a more complex level, where you have students having to figure out a solution to an issue, whether it be criminology or poli-sci issue or something. So they have to work in these global teams. That's what's happening in the workplace. That's exactly what we do to do almost anything anymore, whether it's marketing and whether we're working across cultures and oftentimes across countries. The second thing is we're using this, we're not meeting like this. This is rare, right, anymore. The way work gets done is it's virtual. And we are not very good at it, for as much as we do, about knowing how to use the right tool at the right time for the right job, depending on what it is you're talking about. And how do we connect with each other so that we can do this? And that's what COIL does. And you can only do that if you're doing this kind of stuff in a classroom. So this is just really important work. That's the international experience that we're giving students. The one last thing I'll add that I saw yesterday that I think reiterates the same kind of thing is, when students are working well together in the global teams, they're practicing something, they're debriefing about it, and then they're doing it again to to do it better, improving a paper or a presentation or solving a problem even better. Yesterday, Dr. Asia, I saw an example of what nursing students are doing in Palestine and in here with putting together virtual reality and having students have an experience together and do some problem solving together, whether it be making that software to create that virtual reality or actually putting themselves in that virtual reality and experience and then interacting with each other to solve a problem. So it isn't the technology, as you said, that's so great, but it's the use of it. It's this ability to practice together in a global team to solve a problem across cultures. And that is profound learning that will put that student at a higher place when they get out into the work world. So I'm excited about what all of you are doing, and it's great to be a part of this with you.
All right, wonderful. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Maybe we can have one final round of applause. And we look forward to being in touch. Thanks so much.